There's, of course, a very big irony here, which is that today I was actually supposed to have this debate with a Muslim debater by the name of Comedy Central Dawa. And Comedy Central Dawa threatened me halfway through the debate, through the last debate, the first debate, and also made this this sign here and said that he would be here to kill me. So, or to, sorry, take me out for coffee. That's what he said. After that, he had to be dropped. We had to look for a different Muslim debater instead, but there was no Muslim debater who would actually come up and peacefully have a debate, which is why we eventually had to settle for my friend Gnostic Informant here to jump in and to defend the position of Islam instead. So this is, of course, very, very, very telling. At this point, it is still very difficult for us to tell whether Islam or Christianity is worse for society. On the other hand, I have to point out that I'm actually happy that Gnostic Informant is here instead of a Muslim opponent, because if a Muslim opponent was here, we would find in no time ourselves discussing about why it's okay to have sexual intercourse with children. So I'm very glad that we're not doing that here. All right, so let's talk about it. Which one is worse for society? So I just want to explain this very quickly here. So I said that that Islam developed its own religion out of polytheism, whereas Judaism, Christianity came out of Judaism. So I try to make it very simple here. So you can see a menorah here. There's a menorah here. Then it goes over, and there is a Christian cross here. So from Judaism develops Christianity directly, and then it
right. But Christianity is developing from the Middle Platonic world that it's living in, which is pagan. So it is coming out of Judaism, but it's being influenced by the other.
But the first Christians, what were they? Were they Jewish or non-Jewish?
They were Jewish.
Yes.
And not all of them.
Thank you. So the first Christians were Jewish. The first Christians were Jewish. In fact, Jews themselves considered the first Christians to simply be a Jewish heretics. That's what
they're still being inspired by
doesn't matter. Now let's compare this to Islam.
It does matter. So why does it not matter?
Here's Islam.
Why does it not matter?
Let me make the point. Here's Islam. Islam is represented by a sword here. And... And instead of originating from Judaism, it develops from its own place, goes and adopts things from Judaism and Christianity, but is still its own thing. It never developed out of Christianity or out of Judaism. It
so
does not
why was Muhammad hanging out with
It does not have any origin in Judaism and Christianity. So Muhammad himself was a polytheistic Meccan dude whose family were polytheists. He was not of Jewish origin. He was neither of Christian origin.
Yeah, but he's not a polytheist after he becomes a Muslim.
Okay, but he was not.
But who is he inspired by? Who is he talking to? Nestorian monks, Persian Christians around him.
Look, here's the thing. If you wanted to make the case that that Muhammad was a learned Christian man, for example, or that learned Christian people, for example, came together and developed a new sect of Christianity, which then developed into Islam, you could make that case. Then you could say, yes, it's an offshoot of Christianity. That was simply not the case. Muhammad was a guy who was possibly at some point influenced by Christians, by some Christians, and then later by Jews, but it was still at its origin simply a polytheistic religion, which then adopted or syncretically took things from Jews and Christians.
I think you could make the same case about Middle Platonic philosophy adopting Jewish customs and sort of marrying what becomes Christianity.
No, that's not the same thing, because those people were Jews.
Not all of them, though. And I think that's beside the point, because there's no requirement for being Jewish to be a Christian. They sort of disregard that stuff.
Okay, but the topic here is that the Jews themselves.
So let me ask you this:
that Christians were Jews who then developed Christianity out of Judaism. With Islam, we can't make the same thing. With Islam, we can't say that it took things or it is based on Christianity or Judaism. It is some guy coming and taking from Jews and Christians. It doesn't develop from it. So you can't really make the same case.
I agree with the history of the development. I agree with that. But once you get the Quran, it's citing Mary, the birth of Jesus and Mary. It's citing Christian themes.
Okay.
And you and I have talked about this: Nestorian Christianity, this Eastern sort of Byzantine Christianity, the iconoclast type of Christianity that was around in the 7th century. I mean, you and I have discussed this, that there's heavily influencing Islam.
Sure. But when you say that that Islam is the way it is because of Christianity, because that's where it takes its teachings from, because it's an offshoot of Judeo-Christian religion. That is simply wrong. You can't make the case.
The customs of the Judeo-Christian culture.
Well, they're not. So,
can you show me a source that has like marrying children in Arab paganism?
Unfortunately, the pre-Islamic pagan society was a very underdeveloped one. But
I agree.
But we can see, for example, in the early Islamic sources that they used to marry like tons of women freely and all that. So that apparently was reduced in Islam when Islam was introduced into only marrying up to 4 women, for example. Like there you have the polygamy aspect, for example. You have different instances of Muhammad marrying a child, Muhammad marrying his adopted son's wife, and so on. The society around him doesn't seem to object to much of what he does, except in that one case where he marries his adopted son's wife. There is a friction where people say, wait a minute, that is your daughter. How can you marry your own daughter? And he then conveniently brings a revelation from Allah. He's like, I'm getting a revelation right now. And then says that it was actually Allah who told himself to do that, upon which people calm down. But much of what Muhammad does is considered completely fine in his environment, in his culture, including punishing and killing people, apparently marrying children, which people didn't seem to object to, and so on. So you don't need to draw any of that from Christian or Jewish society. In fact, Christian society was significantly more morally advanced, compared to Islamic early society.
That's funny because the Quran singles out polytheists as people that you can attack, while Christians and Jews have a place in their paradise. You can't say that's some. They're trying to be, at least, even if they're failing at it, they're trying to at least appear to be from that same lineage.
Well, what it actually says is that that you may attack and kill the polytheists, and it initially tries to make peace with the Christians and Jews, but then Muhammad quickly sees that the Christians and Jews actually don't want to accept him because he's kind of a lunatic.
And you could say
so what the Quran then says is that you may attack and subjugate the Jews and Christians and make them your subjects. So they are still to be fought.
I agree with that.
And they are still seen as not accepted.
But that's the same thing Christians doing, looking at the Jews and saying they don't accept Jesus. They're going to,
Yes, but that again doesn't have much to do with the topic of Islam supposedly being an offshoot of Judeo-Christian religion. So, but I think this whole topic is kind of.
All right, we were done. What else did you want to go back and forth with?
I think we're basically done. So you can just concede that.
Let me just. I'm fine with ending. I'm fine with ending early. I mean, I'm not like too inspired to keep going. But let me.
Do you agree that Islam is worse for society than Christianity?
Right now?
Yes. Thank you.
I didn't say it.